Buddy, you know what time it is. It's 2:30 on Tuesday, which means Awesemo.com PGA show. Myself, Ben Raza, here with fantasy golf man Tim Frank. Where Hawaii is long gone. We're going to the mainland, the Amex. I'll get into this name in a second, but we have the three-course rotational here to break down with everyone. How goes it, Tim? How was the Sony Open for you? Did I break the Sony Open from Tim?
Apparently, the Sony Open went incredibly poorly.
It was so poor that Tim immediately left the show. So there's that. And now I'll talk about my Sony Open while he comes back.
Welcome back? Nope.
Nope.
Goodbye.
Nope. It was bad. And this is what happens when Cam Smith wins. My week, first thing, if you saw me on Twitter, I used my one time on Harry Higgs. He eagled the 36th hole. Josh pops in. Tim comes back. I start talking about Harry Higgs and everything resumes. What was that Sony Open, man?
I couldn't pay for the good internet because Graham McDowell didn't win last week, so I'm stuck with poor people internet.
Though. It was close. He was storming.
I didn't even pay attention on Saturday, and I'm like, oh, he shot 300. That was all right. And then I saw people were tweeting at me, and I looked at his scorecard, and he went like 6 under on like a 6-hole span. I was like, oh, that was nice, but the finish wasn't good. And then I didn't think he had a chance on Sunday, and then he had another like 4 under through 4 holes, and then as soon as I started paying attention, he obviously made a bogey. But yeah, it was a good run by him. JT killed me. That putting was just atrocious, and it didn't play quite as hard as I thought it was going to. I mean, the wind was up, but it wasn't quite as much carnage as I thought there was going to be.
It was difficult. It certainly wasn't what we typically see, but it wasn't egregious. There were scores out there. The first day was a little tricky. And then it softened up. Guys made moves. Brendan Steele let one get away, no doubt about it. Good for Cam Smith. I had a fine week. It was pretty uneventful, to be honest, which you don't hate when I only had a couple 6 of 6s. So
any week where a terrible golfer Cam Smith does well is not going to be a good week for me.
Yeah, that's
also throw that out there.
That's a correlated thing. So now we go, as I said, we go to California. Before I get into that, of course, I'm going to talk about Fantasy Draft, our sponsor, which we super appreciate. Over time, as I've mentioned, you can lose up to 30% in rake. You got to pay that rake. It's super expensive. But Fantasy Draft has solved that. There 100% of those entry fees are going into the prize pools, and that just means more money in your account. Different format over there. 7 golfers, you get your top 6 scores, which I think is a really interesting way to structure PGA DFS. If you haven't signed up and you want to, promo code AWESEMO, you get a 7-day free trial. Go check it out. I think you will really enjoy it. You're going to enjoy that more than you're going to enjoy this tournament, which, seriously, I'm not joking around. How many sponsors has this had? Like every year it's different.
I think it had no sponsor. I think the Desert Classic was just like a generic.
They should have just kept that. So this was Career Builder.
Career Builder. Yeah, I've been calling it the Career Builder for like 5 years.
Okay. But originally, way back, Bob Hope.
I remember when this used to be a 5-round event.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
5 rounds. Started on Wednesday. They the winning score was like 30-something under, I think. But yeah, there were so many easy courses. They just couldn't fit them all in 4 days, so they had to go 5 days.
Well, what we need to get to, of course, is this is a unique event. It's a Pro-Am, and it's a cut after Saturday. So you're going to play a rotational, and what that means is you're going to have guys play one course one day, Thursday, one course Friday, one course Saturday, and then that one of those courses, which is the harder of the 3, even though they're all very easy, on Sunday. So ultimately, if you make the cut, you play 2 on, I believe it's the stadium course. And then, you have La Quinta in the other one. So it's really weird. We only have Shot Tracker at one of them. They don't even have cameras at one of them. They're all par 72s. Is that something, to get into the courses? Do you look for common threads, or do you just focus on one of the courses? How do you approach something like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard when you have a 3-course rotation to try and parse out course fit. I don't really see much there. So I'm just kind of going right down the middle. I don't think this really favors one type of player, except maybe guys, like the winning score is going to be anywhere from 20 to like 26 under with good conditions. So that might be the one takeaway you can get, is that you're going to have to go low. You're going to need to make putts. You don't necessarily have to be a good putter, but if you pick a bad putter, he's going to have to make birdies because it's a birdie fest. So, I mean, I think that's kind of the one takeaway. I mean, they're all short par 72, 7,000 to 7,100 yards. The Nicklaus course and La Quinta play as the easiest courses on tour like the last couple years. The Stadium course anywhere from middle of the road to pretty easy. So they're all pretty easy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to go anywhere with course fit. I think it's too hard to do with 3 courses. And I mean, there's just nothing I see here. It's not a demanding course off the tee, so I don't think driving distance, driving accuracy is all that important. Just like any other kind of birdie fest, you want guys that can hit it close. You want guys that can make putts. I don't think scrambling is going to be huge this week. So, yeah, just hit it close and try and make a bunch of birdies.
There's a ton of par 5s, but there's not a ton of eagles, which is kind of weird. It's just a lot of wedges. There's some timely scrambling, but, we've seen Rahm has won here. Guys totally the opposite of Rahm. Bill Haas has won here. Like, if that just shows that I don't think this is one. We talk on the show a lot. You have like RBC Heritage on one side, and you've got, really demanding driving courses on another in terms of distance. To me, this is everyone's in play. You can get it done if you're, a 3-shot guy on par 5s. You can get it done if you bomb and gouge. I don't think that's the ideal way to do it, but Rahm's won, as I said. Hudson Swafford won. If he can do it, anyone can. So we've got a lot to work with. The field is interesting. I'll say that. And when I mean that, Ricky leads us off. We've got him at 11-5 on DraftKings. Then we've got Sungjae Im, Paul Casey, Tony Finau, Benny On, and CH3. It's just to me, a really interesting group of guys leading us off.
Yeah, I mean, if by interesting you mean terrible, I would agree with you.
Don't hate on Ricky.
It's just a tough week. I mean, there's really no elite players. Fowler at the top, $400 cheaper than everybody else, but he seems like a guy who we prefer to play in a strong field at like 9,800 or something, where you're getting a little bit of a discount rather than being the lead dog. I mean, we know he's good. He's got an all-around game. We know he can putt. I mean, I like all that about him, but I really think I'm going balanced this week. I don't love Fowler at the top. Im has been strong, but I mean, 11K, that seems very steep for him. It does not seem like a Paul Casey course, as a guy who's won Valspar twice, like kind of a low, like a grinded out type of course. I think that's really like him. I don't know. I might just go very balanced this week because I'm not in love with any of these guys at the top. Finau, I think people will go there because they'll like him at a birdie fest, but very hit or miss for 10-5. I mean, he seems to do well at tougher courses at majors, and then spots like this in a weak field where you just expect him to go out there and make a ton of birdies and eagles. It never seems to happen with him.
I mean, that's why I say interesting, because most of these guys are known for really, grinding it out in some tougher conditions. B, they're known as non-winners. Like Ricky, he wins more than you would think, but he still hasn't won as much as I would expect him to. Paul Casey was like the ultimate non-winner until he ripped a couple off. Finau is the current trophy holder of that. Benny On and Sungjae, I'm sure they will win, but they have not. And then CH3 is also in that category.
I don't get the Benny On. 10-3, that might be the worst one of the week, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
It's tough to get there. I have no problem with him. I like his game. He's an incredible scrambler, but it's a tough price. And as you mentioned right off the top, you have to putt. You just have to. And I can't think of a guy. I mean, I think Rio is – no, he's not here. Yeah, so
– he's not in here.
So there you go. For me, it's pretty simple. If Ricky is going to be significantly less owned than Sungjae Im, and I think he will be, I'm going to use Ricky more often than not. If not, I'll probably go pretty balanced. I don't even mind, honestly, starting with someone like Kisner.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head, and I'll talk about Kisner in a second. But I'm with you. I mean, I don't think the price difference is enough between Fowler and Im. I don't love Fowler, but he's only $400 more expensive, multiple-time winner on the PGA Tour, as opposed to Im, who's playing great but hasn't won yet. you look at the betting odds. I have Fowler at 11-1, him at 16-1. That's a pretty significant difference in win equity all the way at the top. So I'm with you. I'm taking Fowler over him, but I don't love either of them. I do love Kisner, though. He's my favorite play at 9,900. The ball striking was awesome last week, gained 7.1 with the ball striking. That was fourth in the field. He led the field in tee to green. This isn't a course that requires a lot of length, so that's good for him. He can putt. That's good for him. I think the price is great, and it's just kind of weak at the top. So, yeah, I love Kisner at 9,900.
Yeah, Kisner is someone, I have a betting article as well as a DFS article that are posted on the site. Go free, check them out. Kisner last week gained over 10 strokes tee to green, and he basically was a zero, lost a little with the putter, and that's atypical. He is a good putter. If that would have cooperated, he easily could have won Sony. So he comes in with the game in good shape. I think this is a perfect course for him, despite not having, and I like this. You look at his course history, it's not good. It's not terrible, but it's really uneventful, but that's not going to deter me. This is a good course for him. He can lean on these short wedges and irons, and he's a great putter.
Yep, and I think another thing we didn't mention is the stadium course where they're going to play 2 rounds is the Pete Dye track.
Yep.
R.I.P. Pete Dye, who died this week. But, Kisner, great at Harbor Town, won the team event at TPC Louisiana. That's a Pete Dye track. Playoff loss at the Players. That's a Pete Dye track. So I try not to get too much into course fit, but they are playing 2 rounds of that stadium course, which is, it's a Pete Dye course. I think it's a little easier than some of the, a little easier than Sawgrass, a little easier than Harbor Town. But, some of the same requirements, most Pete Dye tracks are short hitter courses that are more accuracy based than length based. So, yeah, I think it all sets up well for Kisner this week.
Working down, so you've got guys right next to him. Billy Ho is there. Scotty Scheffler at his basically perpetual $9,500 price. This is where, again, gets interesting. Cameron Champ, Molinari, Kokrak, and the Wolfman. If you had to pick another guy from the 9K range, who would it be?
So this is really interesting. I like Molinari at 9,200. Maybe this is a buy low spot. I don't know. He hasn't been playing great, but I just think for the type of golfer you're getting or the quality of golfer you're getting, I mean, we've seen him when he's on. Much better golfer than Jason Kokrak, much better golfer than Cameron Champ. Another guy I think he has 4 top 10s at TPC Sawgrass. So kind of a correlation to this stadium course here. So I like Molinari, not playing great, but I just think the upside is there with him. And then after that, I'd go with Wolf. I just think he can get it done here in the same way that Rahm has gotten it done. I mean, Wolf is more of an off-the-tee specialist. This doesn't require a bunch of length. It's not a great driver-heavy course, but I mean, we saw Rahm kind of take this place apart with the driver. I think Wolf can do the same thing. And you mentioned at the end of last year, it just seemed like he was underpriced compared to guys like Hovland and Morikawa, and the talent might just be there. He might be there with Morikawa, but we just haven't seen him priced up that high yet. So I think he's still a bargain at 9 flat.
Me too. I like Wolf a lot. Chat likes Wolf. Everybody likes Wolf. He's going to gain off the tee. It's early. You mentioned this, but to me, and correct me if you disagree, I feel like he's more live to win these type of events where he's just going low. Like, it remains to be seen what happens majors, really tough courses. I feel like his ideal situation is attack, and that's what this is. The price is more than right, in my opinion. So I just want to go back to Molinari. I get it. I do. He hasn't played in a long time. And when he was playing, he wasn't playing great over in Europe, but he's on a legit 2-month layoff. You worry about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I worry about – I don't think he's a lock by any means at 9,200. But I mean, there's no way I'm playing Cameron Champ over him. There's no way I'm playing Kokrak over him. Yeah, Scheffler, it would kind of be a toss-up. But, I mean, I will have some Molinari. I just think that the price, the upside, I think it's all there. Maybe the layoff was good for him. I don't know. But like you said, I mean, there's some risk involved. But I think it's a good course fit. I like the price. And, I mean, obviously, he can win this event. With the other thing with Wolf, I guess we did talk about it, but you're getting 3 guaranteed rounds. So you're getting a miscut. I'm going to be a little more aggressive this week. I guess I'll put it that way, knowing you're going to get 3 guaranteed rounds.
And that's a point that we should have made. I'm not saying you can just pick whoever you want and the miscut doesn't matter, because if you're playing in like the drive the green, you need 6, trust me. But you can hang on a lot easier having only 18 holes, that are, less than 36, of course, as I eloquently put that. But, it really does mitigate the miscut. You can take some shots. And I do. We're going to don't think this show when we get to 6,500, you don't get too cute, because I got guys in the depths this week.
Wolf could outscore Molinari only playing 54 holes and Molinari playing all 4 rounds.
90. They go back to the 5 days for him. He still wouldn't get it. What do you make right below Wolf? Because he's definitely my second favorite of Answer. I think he's going to be popular. We saw him at the President's Cup. He wasn't, he didn't make any noise last week. 38th. Do you have interest there in a guy who's been playing pretty quality golf?
No, probably not. I just think with liking Kisner, liking Molinari, and Wolf, I think that's pretty much all the exposure to the 9K range I'm going to get. Answer just seems he seems like a very popular player nowadays, and rightfully so. Like you said, he played well in the fall, played great at the President's Cup. Just kind of coming off a so-so finish last week. There's nothing I saw there that made me want to play him again. I think he'll be fairly popular, and I like those other 3 guys in the 9K range better than Answer.
I'm pretty much in line with you. Then we get Brendan Todd, Phil Mickelson, Harman, Poston, Noren. Honestly, I'll open it up all the way to Knox, who I think is a fantastic play. But what do you make of the next tier of players here? You don't make much because you've left me once again. But what I'll say, while Tim comes back, part 3, it's this guy's like, oh, he's back. Are you back? Are you muted? Are you frozen? We don't know. Anyway, I'm going to say Brian Harman, 8,600. If you can hear me, Tim, just...
I got you now. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, you're back. Well, I'm talking about Brian Harman. You missed out on literally nothing. But I was just saying, playing well, gaining strokes in every area. It's a macro buy. I do that. I played him last week. He was he was fine. He came in 32nd. I'm going to continue to play him until I either get paid off or I have to, reevaluate because he's playing poorly.
I'm with you. I think Harman and Poston are kind of the 2 plays in this range. I don't know. You think people will be off of Poston because of the miscut last week?
A little bit. This range is, I don't want to say it's crowded to an extent, but I do think more people will look to Harman. And Poston, in theory, sets up, this is right in his wheelhouse. He's a good putter. He's fine off the tee. Irons are blah, but they always are. So I don't hate going right back to him, but I do have another guy I want to get to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I don't know. You're cutting in and out. I don't know if it's on your end or my end.
I don't know. Well, yeah, Harman, Poston, but I want to talk about Noren. I know that should really end the show, because when I bring up Noren, bad things happen. He really just couldn't putt last week.
Do I have to talk about golf?
I think you might have to. I don't know if it's Alex Noren, if it's me, or if it's Tim.
It's Tim.
It's Tim. Fantasy golf, man.
You hear me perfectly, correct?
I certainly do. But answer. I'll say this about Noren, because I'm chugging along. I don't care. I'm going with my Swedish guy. Lost 3.5 strokes putting last week. 7.5 tee to green he gained. Came in 32nd. It's just a spot that I'm going to attack. I don't think people are fully back with him. It's been a rough stretch of golf, but he started to turn it around. I know this is the swing season, but 15th at Bermuda, 10th at RSM. Now he's 32nd at Sony. Not bad. I have him ahead of Poston, if you can hear me, Tim.
Yeah, I got you. I don't know. It just doesn't want, the internet just doesn't want us to talk about this 8K range for whatever.
I respect that. Sometimes society gives you a cue.
So I don't know if I have this narrative in my head that Noren can't go low. I mean, what do you think at like a winning score of like 2,500? Does that concern you at all?
So Yes, the answer is yes. But at the same time, this is a guy, he's a great putter. He's just I do think he's still a very good player. He's not the like sixth best in the world where he was. He never was that though. And I don't want to say this should impact it, but next week is the Farmers. That's where he was runner up. If I wait and he plays well, he's going to be massive chalk next week. So like I feel like this is the spot. It's either do it now or wait. And it's probably too late. I'm going to take a stab and hope that he can, get hot with the putter. It's not like he can't go low, even though it's not ideal.
You laughed at me when I said Noren last week.
It's true. Now I'm about to complete the circle and be laughed at.
At least we had hurricane conditions to try and, I was angling for that like 7 under winning score last week at the Sony.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, that is a real thing with him. I was really impressed with the ball striking. The putter wasn't there. I'm going to buy, and your boy Russell Knox is in the same boat. His irons were on fire last week. I do think he's going to be somewhat popular, but how can you not love him in the spot?
Yeah, for sure. I think I said this before. Really, all the same things with Kisner apply to Knox. He plays well at the same courses, similar skill sets, although Knox really isn't a good putter. But yeah, I think it all lines up well for Knox. I hope he can make enough putts because that's kind of his Achilles heel. But yeah, good setup for him, and I like the price as well.
Yeah, it's you just highlighted it. He fits cash builds. He fits a lot of different builds. Anyone else in the 8K before I move on to the 7s, whether we talk about Ryan Moore, Lucas Glover, Ches, I don't have a ton of interest. Phil, are you going to play Phil?
No, I never play Phil. I think Moore is interesting. I just don't know. We haven't seen him in so long. But in theory, it should be a good setup for him. The short irons usually plays well at weak field events, usually plays well at birdie fests. Places where short irons are important. All those are key here. I don't know. The price isn't great, and we haven't seen him in a long time. But I think theoretically, this is a good track for him, or a good set of tracks for him.
Yeah, I agree. And just real quickly, going back to Knox, a good question from Chad. He has been losing consistently off the tee. Does it worry me? It's not ideal, but I don't think this is a place that's really going to punish that. If anything, I think it'll mask it. Now, if he loses 4 strokes off the tee, that's a major problem. But if he's around 0 off the tee, I think he can still get it done at this price.
Yeah, these courses will mitigate a lot of the off the tee problems. Obviously, in order to make a bunch of birdies, you need to be in the fairway to have good looks at the green. But yeah, this is a pro-am. It's going to be set up really easy. There's not going to be a lot of rough. Fairway is fairly generous, so yeah, this will mitigate a lot of off the tee issues. And I think, he's a guy, if he needs to hit the fairway, he can hit the fairway. I think maybe the problem comes with him when he's trying to hit driver a lot, which I don't know how much he'll be hitting driver. You don't need length here.
No, he again, is it ideal? No, but it's not going to deter me. Going down, I really don't like this range, so hopefully you have some answers. We've got Vaughn Taylor leading us off, Kevin Na, Putnam, Harris English, Denny McCarthy, another one of your boys.
Putting god, Denny McCarthy.
I know I say this on a lot of shows, so if you watch me religiously, that's a whole different story for another time, you'll have to hear me rant again. I've never seen a guy do this. I honestly haven't. Denny McCarthy gains 5, 6, 7 strokes putting basically every single round, not round, but every single tournament. It's ungodly. If he could hit his irons even to 0, it truly is the reverse Benny on.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to ever get there looking at those ball striking stats. But these events probably would be great for him. Easy, not demanding off the tee, just hit the green and then get red hot with the putter. But I don't think I'm going there. Vaughn Taylor, interesting at 7,900. Not in love with the price, but he was 12th last week. Gained 3.7 with the ball striking. He finished the fall series 10th and 2nd, so 3 really good events in a row. Yeah, I don't love it. I do like English at 7,700. He was on fire in the fall swing until the very last event at the RSM, where he missed the cut when everybody bet him at like 12-1 and was punished.
Yeah, but
it's a strange price. Sure, we haven't seen him since the fall swing, but there's a lot of guys we haven't seen since the fall swing, and he was great. He was Really good. The ball striking plus 1.5. He had 5 top fives. So, I mean, I think 7,700 is a good price for him.
I don't mind it. Yeah, he doesn't have status, does he?
I don't think so. No.
I don't think
he's
so.
going to. There's no way with that fall swing that he had. I feel like he's almost
I don't know how
sure
that
of having a
works.
card next year.
He's played here a bunch. He's made the cut here a bunch. It's a range I don't know how much I'll have to go to be honest, but I like him just as much as any other guy. Kevin Notamy is interesting, but there's an extreme chance that he just randomly withdraws again. So that's concerning. I worry about taking the plunge with a guy who literally could just end your week immediately.
Yeah, I never play never Cam Smith, and I feel like there's similar golfers. I don't like either of them though.
Yeah, I'm not really there with that. What about Daniel Berger, who I was on pretty heavily last week? He did not what I wanted per se, but he didn't kill me. He came in 38th, gained a lot tee to green, could not putt. The numbers look better than the result. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Plus 5.1 ball striking, -3 putting. So the T38, that doesn't look great, but really he struck it a lot better than that. So I don't know if I'll go there, but I mean, there's definitely some merit to playing him. I think he's underpriced, kind of based on the ball striking that we saw last week. I don't think people will go there because they'll see T38, which really isn't catching anybody's eye. But yeah, I mean, there's something there for sure. I don't know if I'm going to get there. Wise, kind of the same boat. Gained 3 strokes tee to green last week in a miscut. Lost 3 strokes putting. I mean, if you like Wolf at 9K, I think you got to like Wise at 7,300.
So here we go. First of all, let's get this right. Friend of the show, Alex Hahn, in chat pointed out to me they're playing together, Wolf and Wise. So this is the mortal lock. I will be going down on this ship. I love Wolf. I love Wise. They make a great correlation. They're playing together. The price is right. The miscuts are concerning, but I don't worry about the top end performances from a guy like Wise. He's going to gain off the tee. What a great spot. So definitely buying there. Sebastian Munoz ? I want to say it, but I don't have a great feel with him, and with Berger and Wise there, I don't know how much I'll need. I will say good Bermuda putter. Results have been a little erratic, but he's been getting placement points when he makes the cut.
Yeah, no, I'm not getting there. No. Well, just we got Berger, we got Wise. We don't really need anybody else in this range, do we?
No, we can get rid of them. Danny Lee, Scott Piercy, Bud Cauley, defending champ Adam Long. I really am not there. Do you see any reason to go back?
No, I mean, he had a good fall swing. But kind of cooled off, was not good last week, wasn't great at the Tournament of Champions. So no, I'm not getting there. I like Brian Stewart this week. I didn't play him last week, but he gained 5 strokes on approach and he lost 5.32 putting. Was just god awful with the putter last week. But I think it sets up well for him, and just a guy who has a strong approach game. He's ranked 43rd strokes gain approach on the season. The irons were really good, like I said last week. He can get hot with the putter. And he was playing good. I mean, I think he was a good play last week, and he just didn't get there. The putter was just awful. But I think I'm going to go there this week at 7,100.
It's definitely a good, zig when everyone zags. If they don't dig in, I mean, if you lose 5 strokes putting, I don't really read into your week in terms of result. What are you going to do? And everything else was fine. So if he would have had a fine finish if he just had 0 strokes gained putting, and maybe we can attack it. A couple other guys, Cameron Tringali, I think sets up very well. His stats check out pretty much across the board. He's been playing consistent golf. He's made a lot of cuts in a row. It looks like 6 straight. And this is a course he can lean, attack these par 5s. A ton of course history here. Pretty solid, making a lot of cuts here. 7,100. Norlander's going to get some ownership. I don't love the idea of that. I'd rather play Carlos Ortiz or Cameron Tringale.
Cameron Tringale is just so gross, isn't he? I feel like it feels.
Gross.
I mean, I guess Brian Stewart isn't any less gross than Tringale.
Tringale is just, I mean, he gained in all 4 categories at RSM. I don't love the idea that we haven't seen him. I wish he played at Sony. Joel Dahmen's got the big. That's a shame. Joel Dahmen withdrew.
Yeah.
Okay, one man down. Makes it a little easier. So, are you going to play any Norlander?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I think I said not to play him last week, and of course he finished T9. That's how that goes. But I don't know. I have a tough time with some of these guys that have been on tour, even if they're somewhat journeymen. It's like we've seen them for years, and they've never really done anything. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around, 2 straight top 10s. I know we're going back to the fall swing, but I mean, he's just never really done anything. I like Nick Taylor at 7K. Ball striking was real good last week. Gained over 6 strokes off the tee and on approach. The short game wasn't that good. Finished T32. He's another guy kind of in the Berger mold of the ball striking was a lot better than the results indicate. 7K, I think that's a good price for him. Not in love with him, but that's just something that stuck out to me.
He shouldn't be too popular. I have no real problem with that. We can backtrack just for a second. I know someone just joined and they asked about Steele. Listen, I don't know what to make of how, if there will be a hangover effect or whatnot. I'll just say this. I like Berger at the same price more than him. I know Steele's had a lot of success at this particular place, but to me, I'm going to let other people maybe chase what was a disappointing runner-up finish last week.
I have no idea how Steele did what he did last week.
I thought it was over. I truly did.
Just in general, just even playing well. I mean, it seemed like it was so out of the blue that it's funny. I ran some numbers for short game, or strokes gained putting and around the green based on last year's stats, just because I'm like, well, tough scoring. You're going to need to chip and putt, windy. I just want to know who to avoid. Like Brendan Steele was like almost dead last in the field around the green and putting based on last year's stats. I'm like, yeah, no shot in this wind. And of course he goes out there and almost wins the thing. But
Steele, God. I mean, he gained 6 strokes putting. That'll help.
Do it. That will do it.
Yeah.
All right, I got one for you.
All right, here we go.
And this is a guy I've been monitoring for like a year and a half, and he's never done anything. Cameron Davis. Okay. No.
Cameron Davis.
Yes. So he was 9th last week. God, he's just
so. Well, I'll just say this, and then I'll let you continue. While you were monitoring, I was playing him, and he was so bad.
Yes. I agree. He's been terrible. He's actually been terrible for like the last 2 years, but somehow miraculously finds like a top 5 on the web.com tour playoffs to get his card. But the ball striking, even while being terrible, has been okay. But last week, he was 3rd in the field in ball striking. I think he finished T9 at Sony. And then his last start prior to that was a T3 at the Australian PGA. So I don't know, man. I've just been kind of watching this guy. He's intrigued me, and I might pull the trigger this week based on good finish at Sony, great ball striking, and the start before that, he was good in Australia. I mean, he's a young guy. He's obviously been terrible, but it's intriguing to me.
Cameron Davis has some pedigree. His off the tee numbers have been holding him back because he's supposed to be like an elite off the tee player. He is also the guy that single-handedly moved the cut line last year when he got left in the bunker, for anyone that remembers that.
Yeah, he made like the quad and like the last group on 18, right? Yep. Or something crazy like that.
So I think the answer for you is Cameron Davis. To me, but Harry Higgs, of course, is right there, and I'll be using him. But what about Biergaard? Just as a pure talk about a guy who can get crazy hot. Now he hasn't been playing good for a while. Do you have any interest in just blindly? You know what I'm saying? Just when that guy gets going, he's a masher off the tee.
Yeah, but he's been bad for a very long time. Has he not?
Yeah, since Tiger. Literally since he
Tiger put him in a coffin.
He really did.
Yeah, no, I mean I see where we're going with sort of the course, not the course fit, but the Wolf, the Wise, all the W guys that can
where I'm going.
But boy, I mean, I have to look at his results here. They've been
Not great.
not good at all.
No.
A lot of miscuts there. A lot of miscuts since Tiger just killed him. No, I don't think I'm going to get there with him. He just hasn't been good at all.
No, he hasn't. He is, though, again, just to say this, when I think of people who, and I'm not hoping this happens, but talk about a guy who could get it done in 54 holes. It's that type of guy. He scores like no other.
You're going to need him to get it done in 54 holes.
Probably. That's the disturbing part. Before we dive into the 6K range, I do want to say real quick, chat, love you guys hanging out with us, as I always do. Makes the show that much more fun. If you can hit the like button and subscribe, we really appreciate it. Helps us out a ton. Tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern, me and Jason Roslin answering your questions, lineup construction, all that good stuff. And if you haven't signed up and you want to, PGA, Tim, we got a promo code, PGA Strategy, all one word. I didn't even know it existed. So do that, 50% off your first week. You can come in, try everything out. You get awesome projections. We give it ownership, Tim's concierge service, everything that you could possibly need. And now we've reached Russell Henley threshold. He was so bad last week. Brunson Burgoon, your boy right here. What do you make of the high sixes? Anyone that sticks out?
No. I mean, there's nobody that I'm targeting in this range.
Bill Haas.
Is he here? He is here, 6,700. No. If I had to go here, I would just take a blind dart with Kevin Chappell at 6,700. I mean, Henley, at least with Chappell, it's like maybe, some time off has helped him. Henley just keeps playing awful every single week, and it's like really hard to see that turning around here.
Yes. I agree. Bo Hoag?
I mean, he was good last week. I don't know. I don't think at 6,800, I think you could do better. In the low 7K range. But this is Hoffman. I mean, this is like full of just landmine guys.
DJ Trahan?
No, never DJ Trahan.
So you're more apt to go for like the actual best golfers. Because like to me, Chappell's, long term, we know he's the best golfer here. Charlie Hoffman has got some pedigree. Or are you looking to like Sam Ryder, who I think will actually be the chalk relative to the 6K range?
No, I'm gonna play the better pedigree golfers. I mean, this is just not a demanding course. I don't know. If you're going to figure your shit out, I feel like this is a good spot to do it.
See, to me, I always kind of tend to do that. I like guys that, and maybe this is wrong, but I like guys that if they turn it around, they're not overmatched. They're like if Russell Henley, and he's an extreme example because I don't particularly love him, but if he gets going, he's a winner. He's won before. He knows what he's doing. Some of these other guys, like, not that this is someone I would ever target, but like that Gellerman guy. Did you see that guy on Friday?
No.
Some guy named Gellerman was like 6 under. And then it's like, yeah, but is he really apt to hang on? I seriously doubt he's going to do anything on the weekend. So for me, it'll be looking for guys who, of course, who can score, good putters, maybe like a Bo Hostler, even though I don't love his game, of course, but I might go to that type of player.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think like the mid 65, 64, I'd rather kind of go down there and take a couple $100 savings. What about Scott Harrington? Did you tout him last week? I feel like you brought him up. The ball strikings have been really good with him.
He's been consistently making cuts. He lost 4 on the approach last week. That was weird. That's been an outlier, though, when you look at his performance lately.
Yeah, I mean, the made cuts have been pretty good. The ball striking over on a hole for the fall swing and last week has been good. Made 7 of 8 cuts, like you said. I mean, Martin Laird. I mean, if you just want to take a flyer, a guy like Martin Laird, I don't know, Luke List. I mean, there's a lot of they're all potential landmines. I don't know. I don't see myself going down here too often.
I see. I'm a little more apt to go down here. I might start with like Ricky and like, another Ricky Kisner. And if I do that, I don't mind dipping. Say this every week, and I'm going to keep saying it. isn't it crazy that Jason Duffner is legitimately just not even close to being in play?
Yeah, past winner here, up and down off the rocks on 17 that one year. But yeah, no, we're not going with Duffner.
No. Other guys that I'm just gonna. You have no interest in going to Steve Stricker, wedge god.
I thought about it, but when we saw him last year, he just wasn't that crisp on tour. But yeah, in theory, wedges and putting. But if he would have played better in the limited starts he had last year, I would have given it some thought. But yeah, I don't think so.
All right. So we got about 10, 15 minutes left. There's a couple things I want to get to. There is a guy down here that I mentioned on Pat Mayo's show last week, and now chat. Shout out to Justin. I'm not going to even pronounce that second name. Has mentioned, and it's a guy you may not know existed because he's not a real person, and his name is Chase Seifert.
Yes, I've heard of him. I'll just throw that out there. I think Ben Coley actually wrote him up as a bet.
You see, because Ben.
But I'm so lazy. I just open his article and I look at the 5 bets, and then I don't actually read anything about him.
So the Bens have united because we know Chase Seifert is the guy that a couple years ago at Travelers gained like 10 strokes in the short game and came in 9th. He hasn't done much, but now he's made 4 straight cuts. His ball striking at Sony was good, and his putting actually has cooled down. Now, historically, and when I say historically, this is a small sample. He's been doing it all with the putting. So this is the best his ball striking has been by far in his measured rounds. He's 6,300. You're looking at Sung Yul No, Lahiri, Ben Martin. So there's not a lot of opportunity cost. It's virtually zero. Grayson, but you can't do that. I'm going to take a flyer on Chase Seifert this week.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. He's definitely been consistent. I just 6,300. I feel like you can get at 6,500. It's the same thing as like a Hoffman. I would go for a proven commodity and play a terrible Martin Laird, a terrible Luke List around the same price. That's just more my style. But those guys are playing bad, so it's definitely risky.
So I guess then Maverick McNeely is not the answer for you.
Yeah, but I'm kind of a Maverick McNeely guy. He has big time amateur pedigree. I think that's the difference between him and a guy like Chase Seifert. Yeah, so I mean, this is a guy. Yeah, was he? I don't remember if he's number 1 ranked amateur or one.
I believe he was
one U.S. amateur. I don't know. I'm not a super big amateur guy, but yeah.
I think he took over for Rahm, I want to say, at some point. I could be wrong about that, but
yeah, we're just totally making things up at this point. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot more there with McNeely than there is with Seifert, and I actually think Ben Coley bet McNeely as well.
I gotta have a chat.
You gotta read his article. Come on, man.
Jesus. Well, listen. I want to be clear. Should you be hitching your wagons to these guys? No. But if you're MMEing and you take 10%, and that even you're going to have significant leverage. Some of them you might only need a share or two. It was similar to this guy, and I touted this guy last week, and he made the cut. This Ryan Gibson fellow, who don't play him. He lost 7 strokes on the approach last week. He was lucky to get through, but you can find some guys down here. Even at flats, JJ Spawn is the min. Not going to play him.
Oh no, he's been bad. He's been real bad.
Yeah, you don't want to dig too much. The last thing I'll say to you is, it partly because the lack of win equity doesn't have you necessarily needing to dig this low? Is that part of why you don't really want to go to the garbage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the guys at the top, which leads me to just not need to play the cheap guys at the bottom. So I feel like I'm going to be building more balance, because that's the way that just seems like a comfortable roster construction for me. And I just don't see much down there, but I don't need to go down there if I'm not playing Ricky or Sungjae or jamming in these top guys.
Yeah. Dominic Bazzelli was a new ad. I don't even know where he's priced, but he's team Ken Putt. So if you're looking for that.
Well, he has a good history here too, doesn't he? I feel like he came very close to winning this.
The Boz, I don't have it in front of me.
I'll find it. Hold on.
Yeah.
5th last year, 5th in 2017. He's got 2 5ths here.
Okay. Man, for anyone in New York right now, it looks like a Black Death outside my window. I hope it's not going to rain. No respect. That's neither here nor there. All right, we've got about 10 minutes left. Did you make any bets? Because I saw you on Twitter slandering the betting market this week.
I didn't bet anyone this week because I when the numbers came out, I was looking for Kisner, but he was 33-1. Then he went down to 28-1. Then he went down to 25-1, and I didn't like him at 33, so I'm not betting him. So no, I don't like anything this week. I think weeks where there's not. I like weeks where we have a certain type, like a course fit, like we had last week, where like the winners seem to all be one type of player or predominantly one type of player. We knew what the course was asking for. And I just don't, I feel like it's wide open. I feel like there's nobody like JT at the top to kind of soak up a lot of that win equity and give us some better numbers on, some of the longer shots. And yeah, I just don't like it. I mean, if you're betting for fun, that's fine. We all bet for fun, but I don't think you just need to spray 5 to 10 outrights every week just because you have to do it. I just don't see it this week.
So that's what I wanted to talk about. The problem I have with weeks like this, it's a double-edged sword. I like that it's wide open, and this is where you legit can cash a monster ticket if you happen to get it right. The problem is I legitimately think you could make a reasonable case for like 100 guys. And when you do that, yeah, you can fire a bunch of guys off and it's great on Twitter and whatnot. But unless you're really honing in, you're not going to get value on those tickets. Now, I did make a couple bets. Kisner is one of them. I was willing to take the plunge. I really like the spot, and I have some more in my betting article. I hope everyone goes checks that out. Aaron Wise, to me, 80-1. Again, I was just willing to take that plunge. He's a winner. To me, he has some of the better talent in a weak field like this, and nobody, not that it matters who's on him per se, but I just don't think he's getting the credit in terms of win equity that he really deserves.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I would agree with you 100%. And, same thing as Wolf kind of can do it. If he gets it done, it can be done the way that Rahm has done it here. This is going to be it's going to be a birdie fest. So I think that kind of bodes well for him as well.
So a couple other notes. One, our man just asked about Taylor Gooch. I really don't have a strong opinion. The irons are not. He was gaining like 8 strokes with the irons, and that's what was doing it. He hasn't done that in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that I've always liked just for that reason, where he'd have events out of every 5 or 6 where the irons were just nuke hot. But yeah, we haven't seen that in such a long time that, yeah, he's not a guy, I think he came back from that injury and just hasn't quite had it. I mean, maybe he's looking at that T4 here last year where he was unbelievable with the irons, but yeah, I wouldn't go there. It hasn't been there. The things that he's done well, he just hasn't been doing those things.
Yeah. If you are playing Showdown, there is a distinct advantage to targeting guys at La Quinta for 2 reasons. One, it's, I think, the easiest of the 3, but it's certainly in the conversation. And 2, they have a spot where it's double par 5s. So you're going to have bookend streak opportunities. And that is such a huge aspect. I don't know if everyone will notice that. A lot of people will, but there will be plenty of people who also don't understand. And when you have your guys going to back-to-back par 5s like that, it's really tailor-made for possible streaks. So if you're playing Showdown, really try to lean to La Quinta on the predominant of your lineups, if not stacking all the way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we don't usually like course rotations. I think they're kind of annoying, but for Showdown, I mean, there is an advantage to be had. Like you said, I mean, a lot of people are paying attention to things like this, but even if a small percentage of people are just clicking buttons, not paying attention to the course rotation, it's going to be somewhat of an advantage. So yeah, that's one of the good things about having a 3-course rotation this week, that take advantage of it in Showdown for sure.
No, yeah. It used to be, and fields are getting sharper, and we've talked a lot about that, where like a lot of people wouldn't, but there'll be people that are basically quote unquote paying the rake, and any advantage you can find, let other people make a hero call. It's not like people won't play good at the stadium course, but it's just harder. Why do that to yourself? Why pigeonhole yourself?
Yeah, I mean, even the stadium course can play easy, but it's significantly more difficult than the other 2 courses. I mean, I don't think that's even a question. So
No, I'm with you. any final thoughts in terms of lineup construction or anything else for the Amex before we duck on out of here?
Yeah, I mean, I think just be cognizant that you're going to get 3 rounds guaranteed. I think that's important. Be cognizant of the fact that it's going to be a birdie fest. So I think that's important. You know, I think there are certain types of golfers who play well under difficult conditions where the winning score is 8 or 9 under. And I think there are certain types of golfers that play well when the winning score is 20 to 25 under. So I think that's something to pay attention to. So really, it's more of like an event format thing for me, being 3 guaranteed rounds, being a pro-am where there's going to be a ton of birdies and eagles and the winning score is really going to be low. I think those are the 2 things to keep track of this week. You know, guy like Paul Casey just doesn't seem like the type of event. Not that he's not a good golfer. It's hard for me to see Paul Casey winning a 25 under event. You know, so that's some of the things that I'm thinking about.
I agree. I think for me, it's more of a macro message, which is don't overreact. We've played the tournament champions in the Sony. Don't get crazy. Another thing, there was a massive split in terms of the tee times last week. So if you look at a guy and you're like, oh, he got cut, maybe dig a little. And if you realize he was on the wrong wave, I'm not saying just blindly forgive it, but at the same time, those are little edges that we can exploit early in the season because everyone is going to look, what did my guy do in the only tournaments that we have in 2020? And that doesn't really tell the full story. So correlate your lineups. I will be stacking some of the courses. I think that is important if you have enough lineups to do. And the most important message is to stop by tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern. I will be back. I'll probably be sweating college basketball on the air, so you'll be able to tell how my teams are doing while I do the show, which is always fun with Jason Roslin. If you have any questions, hop in Slack. Hit the like button on your way out. Good luck, fellas, and we will be back next week for the Farmers.